Alright, so before I dive into the Wireshark network traffic lab, I want to show you all a few things. So at the bottom left hand corner, if you click in the search box and start typing control and press enter, it will bring up the actual control panel for you to look at the network settings on the machine. So we're going to go over here and we're going to select the network sharing center. Under here it shows me the profiles that I'm connected to and what adapters are connected to the network. So you can see I've got a physical wired connection, and because my Wi-Fi is on, I have a Wi-Fi connection. One's on a private network and one's on the public. They're actually both connected to the same private network, but that's besides the point. So to view the actual adapter properties, you hit the change adapters settings, change adapter settings. It'll bring up this new network internet and network connections box. So from here, I can actually see the connections that we're going to use with Wireshark. I can right click, I can do a status, I can see details, and it shows me how my network card is configured. So there's two ways to configure a card, whether it be a laptop, phone, TV, any kind of device that's on the network is going to be using a IP address, whether it be IPv4 or IPv6. Currently I'm just running IPv4, but this class is geared for you to understand both IPv4 and IPv6, because eventually IPv6 will replace IPv4. You can see that every device on the network is going to have something called a MAC address. This is your physical address, so I can actually see that information here. I can see that I am getting a address DHCP, which means I'm dynamically setting up this machine. So this stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. The IP address I'm getting is a 7288. When we receive one dynamically, it's something called a lease. So you can see I obtained it a few minutes ago at 4:09, and my lease expires at 8:09. So depending on the network, you may have like a 4-hour lease. You may have an 8-day lease. So I spend my leases pretty quickly because stuff comes in here and then leaves, and then I want it to lose, or that I want the router to lose the address that it handed out. So you can see here they have something called a default gateway. This is a required field. If we don't have a gateway, we can't get to the internet. So this is the address of the device in your home, apartment, business that's giving you access to other networks. In this case, the internet. So 192.168.72.99 is my router address. Now, the DHCP server is the address of the device giving me an address, and you can see it's the same as my router. And this is kind of a common practice now. If we were inside of a Windows server environment, I would probably have the server handing out the addresses to the Active Directory clients, and then the gateway would actually be different. And then we have something also very important called DNS servers. So DNS servers, in this case we have 8888, which is Google Open DNS, and 4222, which is another big internet player, level 3, and their Open DNS. And without this right here, our devices couldn't connect to the internet. So we use google.com, facebook.com, the actual address of a device that we want to get to those devices. We don't know the actual number for the device. So DNS is important because when we put google.com in our browser has to request from DNS what the actual number to that website or web server is. So if DNS is not functioning, we do not get there, because we actually make our connections with the numbers, not with the names. Now there's another way to see this information. We can actually go to our search box and type CMD and then click on command prompt, and you could do an ipconfig/all. So just so you guys can see, there's my wireless LAN adapter. I'm going to go to my wireless LAN adapter here. I'm going to go to status and details. if you look right here, this number is going to match. The gateway is going to match. The DNS servers are going to match. So again, the command to see my configuration at command prompt is ipconfig/all. This is called detailed configuration. It's going to give me my DNS servers, my DHCP, my MAC address. Again, the MAC addresses should match. The same detail that I'll get from the Windows GUI. So there's multiple ways to get to it. The other good reason to know the command prompt is because if I get that information there, then I can actually test. So if I can't get to the gateway or the router, so we use a command called ping, and then we put a space, and then we put the number with the 3 dots to test if we can get there. So we were looking for something called replies. If we're getting replies, then we're actually communicating with our router. We also can ping our DNS server, and then hopefully we're getting replies. Now, just remember, when we go out on the internet, not everything will reply to you, because sometimes we run into devices that are protected by firewalls. Firewalls are devices that are set up to block or prevent certain types of traffic. Sometimes we won't get replies because we're being blocked. Now, is DNS working? Well, let's find out. If we ping an actual internet name, so you can ping the name, you can see that this looked a little different. So when I pinged the number, it went straight to sending replies. When I pinged the name, we got a number back in a box. So this request right here required us to go to DNS. So the ping actually sent a query to DNS, went out to 8.8.8.8, my guess. 8.8.8.8.8 responded with southernmiss.com is 174.143.104.95. So once I got that IP address back, then I could start sending the actual packets, the ping packets, to the Southern Miss server. And you can see it actually also replies. So this is how we can test if our connections are working. If we ever, when we do our ipconfig or our configuration details from within the control panel, see that we have a 169 address. That means that the DHCP server isn't able to talk to us. So we could have a misconfiguration on our computer, we could have a bad wire, the wireless could be not working, the DHCP server could be down. Whatever the reason, for some reason we're not getting a valid IP address. And so Microsoft kicks in with something called a PIPA. I want you guys to do some research and make sure you understand a PIPA. And this way, anytime you ever see an address that starts 169, you'll understand why I've got that. This address right here is not usable to get me outside of the network. It makes your PC basically offline. So automatic private IP addressing is in play for a reason. So hopefully we would still get to maintain some local connectivity, but without a true address, without DNS, without a gateway, we're not going anywhere.